Basic income and labor crisis. New rules for the game of society. Already in the age of industrial revolution, it seemed as if the technical progress would fulfill an old dream of all generations ever since. A life exempted from the impositions of hard work. But the fulfillment of this dream hit into a constellation in which the hoped-for blessing impacted as a curse. At hand was a working society that runs out of work. Still today, the only thing that keeps it running. What could be more disastrous? The unconditional basic income as an answer to the crisis of the work society. Welcome to our working society. That's namely the sociological term to describes the sort of society we are actually living in. Having a workplace is decisive for a wealthy life. It guarantees an income, thus essentials for daily life. Furthermore, it provides social and cultural participation. That seems first to work quite wonderful. Long since everything is available in sufficient quantities, we reached an unprecedented oversupply in goods, food, energy, and consumer products. One could speak well of abundance if there wouldn't remain the sole concern for a job. Soon, it's all about getting a workplace in this society, otherwise it can quickly get very uncomfortable here. By now, more and more people can't find such a place despite of their ability and willingness to work. Structural unemployment is a thing at least since the late 70s. Does that come as a surprise, or could we have guessed it much earlier? Let's look at the unemployment rate of the last 50 years. 1960, everything seemed to have its correctness, but since then, we note a fairly consistent increase in unemployment. We see a development that is periodically traversed by crises. Its phases of recovery were never able to reverse the general trend. If the official figure appears to be recovering today, that is to a large extent thanks to creative methods of dissuase. In fact, the increase has gone further. Only we decided to deny it. A colorful plan of actions erases workless people from the statistics as if they could thus be erased from social reality. Given the long-term rise in unemployment in all Western societies, the denial of this problem seems senseless and harmful. It is characteristic of a clinging to a work moral that was made superfluous by mass unemployment. The belief in full employment is a fading illusion. The state spends a significant proportion of the generated prosperity on creating jobs at all costs. Subsidization of temporary work and the low-wage sector displace full-time and social-secured jobs. That lowers wages in general and forces to deconstruct social systems, to compel people to accept these precarious jobs. That is kind of schizophrenic. Short-sighted job creation hysteria deprives work of its function to generate income. Thus, it loses the purpose for which it would be worth preserving. Soon, the state must pay also to guarantee minimum even for workers. That is how to undermine the solidarity foundation of society and its stability in the next crisis at once. For a better understanding this plight, we would only have to expand the viewing angle of this development. One could find it is the result of a long success story. Let's look at the historical drop in the per capita volume of work in Germany. The working volume got halved since 1882. Lowered by 7 hours per year on average. The main reason is the concentration of work processes. The technical development and increasing automation cause this historical trend of reducing the workload. Also, we have unexpected increases of productivity and profits, and so the other side. So you could say progress freed our society sustainably from impositions of work. And that is only a problem if we continue insisting that the labor market should integrate people into this modern society. Let's take a closer look. Today, 3 of 10 people get their income from relatives. These are mainly children and adolescents. 2 out of 10 are living on a pension or retirement benefits, and fewer than 1 in 10 rely on unemployment benefits and welfare. On the other side are little more than 4 pursuing an employment, but slightly more than 2 in classic social insurable employment. Applied to the entire state, the we all are as a community, a majority receives their income from transfers, directly from relatives or government benefits such as child benefit, education grants, student loans, Hearts 4, disability pension, housing allowance, parental allowance, maternity leave. In relation to this extensive government service catalog, a basic income would first of all be a mere clearing to this service jungle. It would be a funded mental and lifelong payment for every citizen to secure its existential needs. Of course, this model of a guaranteed income, which isn't tied to labor, would be a fundamental change. As a proposed solution for our social crisis, it needs to withstand a precise scrutiny. However, for now, it suffices check on the opportunities. Doubtlessly, unconditional basic income would raise society to a new qualitative level. This community could then concentrate on its key challenges. It wouldn't be stuck in the laborious acquisition of necessities any longer. Primarily, it can strengthen equality and enable involvement in the social and cultural sector, but also in science. Anyone can negotiate his wages and working conditions confidently on an equal footing. This way, the generated wealth can reach all participants. That will generate incentives because working people will also receive the basic income and get their wages on top of it. Those who do not work are able to educate themselves and start something up. This enables activities and actions which are vital for the functioning community, but still they remain under the economic bar today. Initiative, self-expression, and creativity will be provoked while they are just stalled in today's society. A barely imaginable potential can be released when people can identify with their social environment instead of feeling patronized and excluded. Skepticism on this promising income model ignites almost immediately on the question how to finance it. Thereupon, the answer comes along with its unconditional nature. Vast sums are flowing into the bureaucratic regulation of these transfers which can be saved. The many employees of the state will cost the state the same as before and are freed for more help and meaningful tasks, just like those whose work is subsidized, even though it is neither economically nor environmentally acceptable. The basic income idea is hardly more fantastic than the assumption that we could continue as before. As a view on the aging of work society debunks, the number of transfer beneficiaries will exceed everything on the long run that could be financed from the taxation of labor. The low birth rate indicates the fundamental lack of space for humanness in our workaholic society. Anything that deals with humanity is not economizable and does not accidentally get under the wheels of workaholism. A basic income will give any fellow being and its children the needed space to prosper. The necessary wealth for this is naturally generated in this society. In 2002, the richest 10% owned 57% Germany's total assets, but for the remaining 90%, it looks quickly meager. The poorest 20% have nothing but debts. By 2007, after 5 years, all became poorer. Large parts of society have lost assets, and only at the tip, people earned more than ever. This reflects the sober realization how rapidly labor loses its function of income factor. What matters, however, is already having capital and the knowledge for its efficient and productive reinvestment. This illustrates again where the trend is steadily going to and where the well-known scissor will cut the social band. The awareness is growing slowly that the needed economic growth to ensure enough income for all is impossible under the present conditions. To maintain a seemingly good stand for Europe's working societies, the real wages and salaries had to fall by almost 5% in the last 12 years. We have any reason to look out for new and higher forms of organization for our society. The basic income is one, such even though the model is far from making itself heard against the deep-seated reservations. Thinking it through and discussing about it recalls how our society should develop for us.